All right. We are just about ready here. Chat. What's this? Camera stuff. Oops. I can hear myself. Let me figure out where this is coming from. Okay. See both of the chats now. Looks like everything is running. Looks like I got sound from the microphone. Okay, should be good to go. Hide this and put the chats back. Tammy, how's it going? Good morning. All right, so hello to everybody. My name is Tim. I go by foamyguy on GitHub and Discord. We'll be working on some CircuitPython stuff, picking up where I left off last night on the deep dive. So if you didn't catch the deep dive and you're interested in the stuff I'm working on, you can see the first half of this on the Adafruit YouTube from yesterday, the 18th of March on deep dive. If you're new to all of this and you don't know what I am talking about or what I will be working on, we are writing Python code that runs on these tiny computers. There's a bunch of pictures of them in the background here. We're writing Python code on these that can interact with sensors and lights and speakers and motors and things in the real world. Specifically, what I'm interested in today is Vectorio, which is drawing shapes onto little LCD displays. So I have this microcontroller. It has a little LCD on it, and yesterday we made this box that bounces back and forth here and changes colors. So this is the kind of stuff specifically I'll be working on. And if you are interested in the CircuitPython project, it's open source. You can learn more at circuitpython.org. There's a contributing link if you want to get involved with development, helping us test and add new features and different functionality and things like that. Head to the website, circuitpython.org, and the contributing link. It is an open source project, but it's primarily funded by this company, Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. They pay the folks that work on the project full time. They pay some of the folks that work on the project part time, such as myself, and all of the core developers and the folks fostering the community around it and doing all of these things for the project and community. So if you don't necessarily want to get involved in development, but you are still interested in supporting the project, one of the ways you can do that is if you purchase hardware from them. So please consider that if you are interested. So yeah, picking up pretty much where we left off last night, I was working on Vectorio changes to allow you to specify the color number. We ended up calling it that it will use in the palette. It used to be, well, I should say it is currently in stock CircuitPython. The case is that Vectorio shape, it will always use the 0 index color in the palette. And we are changing it to where you can specify. So if you don't want it to use the 0 index, you want it to use the 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever index, then you'll have a way to do that using these changes that I'm working on. I do think one thing I want to do differently than how I started yesterday is I think we can actually just let the user input an index, a 0-based index, and then we'll just artificially add 1 to it when we store it inside the object. Instead of what we have right now, which is the user submits what we called a color number, which was basically a 1-based index, so like an index but starting at 1 instead of 0. that mapped up with the palette. So that meant the user would pass 1, and they would end up with the 0 index inside the palette, the first thing in the palette. I talked a little bit yesterday about the naming, and we ended up switching from index to number in order to try to reflect the fact that it wasn't 0-based. But for some reason, it hit me after I got done last night, like, we could actually have it be 0-based, and then we could just raise the number, since internally it needs to have that 1 because it uses 0 for something else. But that's internally. We can just compensate for that also internally, and then the user doesn't have to like care about that sort of internal numbering. They can just focus on the 0-based, which is how the palettes normally work anyway, so they don't have to get used to a new thing. So that's going to be the first change I do. How's it going, Ham's Lab? I will mention also, it's down on the bottom there, the chat link. If folks are interested, you can join me in the chat there on the Adafruit Discord. We're in the live broadcast chat. That's the chat that's showing on the screen there as well. And I'm also trying to keep an eye on the Twitch chat as well during the stream. So head there if you have questions or comments or anything. So the first thing I want to do is actually just change this all back to color index. I know we just changed it yesterday to color number, but I do think now, after I had this other idea, that color index is better. So we're going to go color index, and then we're just going to basically add 1 whenever the user sets it. So if they set it to 0, internally it will track as 1. We do have a couple of places where we need to replace it. So here's one. This was shared module. Let me kind of do these in order, maybe. Place all. Okay, so that's both things in shared module. So now shared bindings. My refactor doesn't work because this is C code and PyCharm doesn't really know about C code. But find replace works pretty well in this case. Although we do have to do it in a couple of files. So the last one we need is shared bindings, and oops, I just closed it, rectangle.h. I wish there was an easy way, maybe CLion did this, I don't know. I wish there was an easy way to go from like rectangle.c to rectangle.h real fast. Maybe CLion. I started using CLion for a couple of weeks, but it didn't, I think I just did a free trial of it or something, and it didn't, I don't really find that many benefits over PyCharm, truthfully, even though it kind of recognizes the code better. Okay. So now let's just make a build and make sure it actually works. One of these was I building in. Oh, I think I need to do the export thing. It's successful? Unsuccessful? I thought this is how I did this yesterday. OpenOCD ESP32. Maybe something changed when I did a fetch submodules? So this says, please run install. Interesting. That's my guess. Something must have changed when I did fetch submodules, because I did it after the fact yesterday. I did it kind of in opposite order. So it must have been a new version maybe that has different requirements. Okay, yeah. Build Ninja? Alright, so first thing I guess is we get to figure out how to fix making the builds. Please try to run IDF full clean. I mean, if I have to, I guess I could make a new clone. I mean, I guess I would come back to this branch, though. Submodules. Nimble is out of date. Let's give it this again, I guess. See if that gets us back. It's weird that I was still making builds like right up till the end show pretty much yesterday. No compile ESP IDF products. How's it going, C. Grover? Requirements are satisfied. Patty beans, be nice. Maybe I should do a make clean. Maybe it will succeed this way. Or it's just slower, so it hasn't failed yet. It's faster with the thing. It's quite a bit slower. I mean, it hasn't failed yet. I guess that's a good sign. See what it does. It's weird though. I don't feel like I did anything different. Just did all the same things again. Oh, alright. I finally made it somewhere. Build ninja thing. Same thing. Excuse me. Okay, so this will tell us if whatever was wrong was like part of the cached stuff from the build or if it was something different. If it's something different, then I'm not sure really what we'll do next, but we'll think of something. Hopefully this will build. Although it doesn't say failed. Loader? Bigger scripts. This one doesn't seem as obvious of a fail. Submodule init recursive. MB delts. Make warning. These all kind of say the same thing. SPIDF tool CMake submodule. And do we need to run that inside of IDF? Wouldn't make fetch submodules do that for us? I guess maybe it just fails a different way because it doesn't have the pre-made stuff. Probably why it fails a different way. What's the other command? Oh, it's going to be impossible to find. There's a second command you have to use when you're updating those things, I think. Isn't there? There used to be two commands always we would run. And now make fetch submodule does them. But oh, you know what I have? I have alias? Okay, sync was the first one. This was actually the second one. Submodule update init. Okay. Sub update. I made an alias for that shortly before it became a make command. I don't know. I guess. Oh, okay. All right. I guess read the output message and do what it says. That's weird that I thought make fetch submodule did the sub ones also, but I guess maybe not. It seemed like ESP-IDF needed updated, but we got a build. So now we can go put our feather to bootloader mode. Double click. Nope, too fast. Copy this. Onto our drive. And as long as this keeps doing the same thing it was doing before, then well, actually it's going to crash because the name is wrong now. Once we change the name, if it keeps doing what it was doing before, then we successfully changed the name to color index. And then afterwards, the next thing I'll do is do the +1. Only have one device today, so we're on 0. Yeah, extra keyword, line 20. So this is actually expecting color index now. But it is still 1 based, but that's what we're going to change. As an attribute color number. We also did this. Perfect. So that is now the same behavior we had before, but of course the name is color index. So now we just need to fix the actual numbering. And to do that, I think what we're going to do is inside of paired module, when basically when the set color index gets called, set color index, we're gonna do +1. +1. Oh, I don't know if we're gonna be able to though. Some of these are like, maybe it's a Python int, not a C int. We might not be able to just do math on it right away. Calling absolute value on it though. I guess hopefully we can either do the +1 inside absolute value or outside. So now whatever the user sets, it's gonna actually get stored as 1 higher. Oh, but then when we access it, okay, so also get color index, we want to do -1. So the +1 number will get stored, but whenever the user accesses it, it will get adjusted back to 0 based, and whenever they set it, it's adjusted for being 0 base, so they don't have to worry about the 1 base at all. Yeah, -1 when they access it, +1 when they save it. So if they save a 0, gets added to 1, it gets saved as 1. When they go to access it, it gets -1, it comes out as 0. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So does this even build? So basically this will tell us if that thing is actually a number we can do math with or not. This int 16t, I don't know for sure. I mean, int is a number, but I don't know if this thing is actually a number or an object. Looks like it worked though, so. So let's go back to bootloader. Copy this again. I should make a script that, oh, but I have TO open, I guess is the problem. I was gonna say I should make a script that connects to REPL and runs a reboot and bootloader command. And I could do it from here and not need to use the reset button. Okay, so now it's still working, but it is disappearing. And the reason it's disappearing is because we're 1 higher now. And so we don't have enough colors in our palette. If we added a 3rd color, then we would still be able to see it. Right here, we only have 2 colors. So if we added a 3rd, maybe reddish. Ooh, maybe not. Let's see. List index out of range. Oh, because I didn't create it as 3. Yeah, okay, so now we go from green to red and back and forth, which are indexes 1 and 2, because that's what we're setting, 1 and 2. But if we do indexes 0 and 1, then we get the behavior we expect with 0 and 1 in the palette. Blue and green. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I like this a lot better. This way, we can use color index instead of the more arbitrary color name, and the number just behaves at least more in line with how I would assume it behaves. I guess probably most people will assume it behaves. Internally, it's still 1 base, but we don't need to care about that externally. Okay. So now we want to do the same thing for the circle and the polygon. I had a thought as well Maybe it would be interesting if we, inside of get pixel, here we could have some logic that would allow us to draw a border. We could have some logic that says, like, if the pixel is on the edge, i.e. if, you know, like y is equal to 0 or y is equal to height, or height minus 1, I guess it might be, then draw a different color. And same thing with x. If it's equal 0 or if it's equal to the width minus 1, then do a different color. And then maybe we could also end up having a like border thickness, and then it could subtract extra pixels. And this would basically give us the ability to have an outlined rectangle with a border, and the user could set the border color separately. And that would be closer to mimicking what display shapes does. So if we get circle and polygon done, I might come back and do that. But Kmatch also shared in the chat a way to draw certain thickness of lines, which we could also maybe use more generally to make outlines of any kind of shape, or at least of rectangles and polygons. Circles might still be tougher. You could do it, but you would need a lot of lines. Probably it would be good to come up with a different way for circles. So maybe we'll play with that, I think, afterwards as well. For now, though, I'm going to do circle. So let's go open up the files we're going to need. I guess I should have probably kept rectangle open. Well, I'll reference back to it when I need to. I'm sure I'm going to need to look at some of the stuff we did, just because I'm not... This is only the second or third time I've ever really added something even remotely minor, major. Like, it has an argument and a property. I think, honestly, this is the first time I did a property, even. Oh, no, I did tile width. I did tile width on tile grid, that's true. Vectorio. Okay. One thing we're definitely going to need here is color index. Looks like that's everything we need in this file, so I'll close it. Here we'll need a couple. So like, firstly, self color index. But I'm sure we need more things too. So construct. Get past construct? Yeah, I think it would. This is where I probably should have kept this open. Construct. Yeah, we did pass it. So we probably could do the same. It's interesting, this is uint 16. Wonder if we should be 16 versus 32. I think the difference is like it's like the number of bits basically, so it's how big the number can be, essentially, is what this boils down to, where it overflows. I think we also need to set it here, right? Yeah. Basically give it this one. Okay, so we have our construct. We access color index when we get the pixel. Oh, I guess we probably need it here as well. Okay, so then we'll need to make, I think, get and set functions for color index. Honestly, though, I might be able to just copy them. So I don't know. Oh, well, okay, there's a couple things that we'll need to change, of course, I guess, because this is rectangle. Let's grab this. Okay. That was shared module. Need anything else? Is there like make new? I guess maybe that's in shared bindings. Just construct here. I did end up switching that to uint16. Should probably make it the same for a rectangle and circle. And I guess uint16 is smaller, and I would assume it's probably big enough, so maybe we should use that. Okay, so here I think we need to add our new functions. Yeah. Oops. Is int16 here? Maybe, well, uint16 and int16 are different, I guess. Okay, here's our constructor. The way this works is we put it in here. Another index. Oh. Do I want to change the default? I guess it depends if it calls our setter function or not. So what I just realized is we defaulted this to 1 back when we were still 1-based. We changed to 0-based. The question ultimately is, like, does it skirt that or not? Do we actually need... I don't know if it actually calls our setter or if it just does it directly. So let's do this. Blue. So if it's blue, then it is correct because we want it to default to 0. If it's green, then it's defaulting too high by 1. Okay, it's blue. Okay. So maybe it must be calling the setter and giving the -1 in there. So then we'll put this on 1 as well, I think, because that's what we have the other one. Pretty sure. Let's double check. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so then what else do we do inside of here with color index? So this is where it does do int32. I wonder if we should switch that to a 16 for the circle. Where is this at, too? This is right before it calls construct. Construct. Right, and we'll need this whole thing. It goes basically all the way down to here. This is the property. Oh, we'll change this too. So we have a bunch of these to change. Could maybe find replace, but also interested in like really taking a closer look into this code, just getting used to all of this boilerplate for properties and things. I think it will benefit me overall to kind of go through this a little bit slower and have a chance to really see and read a lot more of it over and over again. Just get used to it. Okay. So there's our properties. Did we do anything else here? Vector shape doesn't change. Okay. Oh. Got more to change down here. Wasn't quite done yet, okay. Okay. I think we got them all now. So I've done... I think I've made changes in all the files. Anywhere I'm skipping? Let's check if we have a valid build. Nope. This could be a 16 versus 32 or flared here. Oh, we didn't add, yeah, we added the argument to construct, but we didn't add putting the argument in when construct gets called, which is inside make new right here, color index. Got it. Okay. Bootloader mode. Copy. And then we'll need to change the code as well. This code has rectangle in it, obviously. We'll have to switch over to circle. On the upside, our circle is placed to where it'll actually bounce off the edges instead of going off the right edge and not all the way to the left edge like the rectangle does. Okay. Default max value, typically 65535. If it's unsigned, uint 16 makes sense. I see. Okay, and 32 is the same but goes negative. And in our case, we should not need more than 65,000. So I think you probably can't have a palette that is that large anyway. And we don't need negatives because we're not going to store the negative. It calls absolute value on it to get back to positive. It is maybe not the behavior that people expect, though, I guess. If you give it -1, you might expect it to go to the last one. I don't know, maybe it does do that anyway, still, though. Well, I don't know, really that's like accessing -1, not so much setting -1. I don't know that anybody would necessarily try to set -1. I don't know. Okay, 16 makes more sense probably, though. I don't think we need negative, so. Saves memory, reduces execution time. Nice. Okay, so I'll switch rectangle back to that as well afterwards. Color index. Object has no color index. So we made it. Oh, I didn't actually add it to the constructor. Let's see if the constructor works. I think I know what I forgot. There's a place where it lists all the properties separately. Let's see. Actually, let's try it without first. Okay, so everything is fine. Oh. Oh, right. Yeah, we can't print either. Okay, yeah, everything's fine if we don't use color index. So we managed to not totally break circle all the way, which is good. Now what about if we do color index 1? Okay. It didn't break, but we are still blue. Wait, hold on. Which color is which? Okay, blue is 0. But it's being 1 based. That's curious. Because I copied the getter and setter? But I guess... Okay, hold on. We're gonna make both. Because I feel like either rectangles should be broken the same way, or this should work correctly. By correctly, I mean, I guess, just how I assume it was working, which is 0 based, but... If these two are different, then we have a larger problem than if they're both the same, but just wrong. Let's go this one longer down, maybe like 75. Okay. We got, both of them are blue right now. And I did not set color index for either of them. Which is good, that makes sense. So what about color index 0? I would expect this to still be blue. We did not still get blue though, we got invisible. When we put it to 1, we got blue on both. It looks like we do have the same behavior, just different than what I wanted. Yeah, now we're green on both. This will be red on both. Yeah. So when we do not include color index, we get the expected behavior, which is that we go to index 0. When we do include color index, we are 1 higher than we want to be. So is that here maybe? We should do -1? But the other question, I guess, is 0. Or rather, this would be +1. Which, that should fix 0 for us as well, actually, I think. Yeah. Oops. Gotta make it before we can copy it. Third module. What? Did I erase something to get that, or did I just accidentally paste that? Yeah. This local history is so nice. So I must have like just accidentally pasted over this while I had them highlighted. Luckily, the local history remembers. Tammy, if you're still around, do you know anything about Twitch bots? Do you have a Twitch bot that runs during your streams? I'm thinking about trying to make a Twitch bot. I have not actually sat down to do it. Oops, didn't get bootloader. There we go. Copy it over. So now we should index out of bounds crash probably because it's still set to 2. Looks like it's not. It is running, but it's not visible. Maybe we need to add... Oh, wait. No, it's not visible for real. Okay, yeah, that was just cached. I have a Siri bot, S-E-R-Y bot, but I'm thinking about making my own bot instead. Nice. Siri bot, I've not heard of that one. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I don't want too much stuff in it, but a couple like commands, like a today command that says what we're working on today and I can fill it in. Maybe some other stuff. I think eventually it would be cool to tie together Twitch commands with microcontrollers. Like maybe if I had a matrix portal that's visible on the camera, I could feed it in through OBS, and then there could be commands to like paint certain pixels, certain colors. Gives like the chat the opportunity to kind of interact with it somehow. Or maybe if we do a PyPortal or something, then it could have a turtle drawing thing, and the chat could interact with it by giving it the forwards, X, and turn, and whatever, all those commands. I think it might be neat to kind of bridge those two worlds, microcontroller and Twitch chat. So I think if we just go back to not 2, we should, or 3, I guess, rather. 2 should do pink now. Indeed it does. And 1 should be green. And it is. And 0 should be blue. That'd be awesome. Maybe Blinkabot that people can collaborate on. I'd totally love to contribute to that. Yeah, definitely. It would be, for sure, it'd be open source. 0, we got blue. And now we do this. This, and we want to still be blue. As long as we're still blue, then we're good. Oh, we went to green. Okay, so this is where we will need to go back, and that 1, we do want to make it a 0. Story of your life as a programmer. Somewhere there's a 1, and it needs to be a 0. Where was that? There it is. And there's actually 2 of them, right? Because we need to do the other one also. Shared binding, circle. Oh. Ran copy before I ran build. Luckily the copy fails because it doesn't find the drive, featherboot, since it's not in bootloader mode. I'm glad it doesn't like copy the UF2 to the CircuitPy drive or something and just eat up space. Alright, we got bootloader, copy it now. Blue. Perfect. Okay, you leave it empty, you get 0. You give it a number, you get 0 based color indexes inside your palette. So now, let's look at our properties. Okay, that's actually one thing we need to fix. For our properties on our circle, we need to add... Where's that at? Is that down here? Yeah. These things, color index. This will actually be like this. And now I think the properties could be working for circle. Kick it back to here. We can watch this thing bounce back and forth for a minute while it's running. This makes me want to make a Vectorio Pong. Kimech and I were talking about a Vectorio helper library written in Python, but it would be built on top of Vectorio. One of the things that might be cool to have in that is collision detection. Like you can give it 2 Vectorio shapes and it will tell you if they're currently colliding or not. That would make the Pong idea easier to do for sure. Although Pong collision is fairly easy as well, right? You can just check like X, see if it's on the edge, and then check the Y of the paddle and stuff. So of all the types of collision, Pong ball is a fairly straightforward one of them. We have get pixel now too. Warrior of Wire implemented get pixel for us. Or not get pixel, but like check if a pixel is part of a shape or not. So like you pass it a pixel and it tells you yes or no, that pixel either is or is not inside of the shape. Vectorio physics library, yeah. Yeah. And actually, yeah, it would be really cool to have more physics stuff too. So like collision is one thing, but even if we had stuff like angular momentum or whatever, where and gravity, where you could like send it flying with a certain amount of acceleration or velocity or something. I probably don't have the right exact terms, but I made a copy of, it's called Gorillas, like QBasic Gorillas. Yeah, you can tell from the screenshot already. I made a copy of this game, and I had some kind of basic like angular momentum thing. Maybe that could be abstracted. I put it just inside the game though. I don't think I made it very reusable probably. Let's see, can we now, whoops, this is what we want. Can we do our properties? Property. Nice. Yeah. One thing that might be cool, what if we did like, what if we do something like this? I want it to go through more color. I want it to go through all the colors. So let's go def increment color. You give it a shape. It is going to go. Okay, this. Give it a shape and a palette. Can you access the palette? Once you create the shape, I don't know if you can actually access the palette or not. Also, let's see, the tunes have paused on me here. Go tell YouTube we are still here. Here we go. Good look in the code, I guess, but docs are a little bit nicerly formatted. Yeah. Although, is that... Okay, yeah, that's a property. Okay, we should be able to get that. So, yeah, you just give it a shape, and then it goes current... No, let's see, what does it do? It goes... if shape.color index +1 is less than the length of shape.pixel shader, that's the palette. So if we have room in the palette to go up by 1, then go up by 1. Else we were on the last one, basically. And if we would go bigger, then we would be equal to the length, which is index out of bounds. And in that case, we want to go shape.colorIndex 0. So this will just like cycle through. So blue to green and then green to red. Oh, well, okay, yeah, I made the function, but I haven't called it yet. Man, I'm very guilty of that a lot of times. I'll write some piece of code, but I'll write it as a function, and then I'll like run it and be like, what's this? It's not working. Yeah. You do have to actually call the function if you want it to do anything. I think we don't really need all these prints. And so let's just go here, increment, circle. You can just take a duplicate. Okay. Now we go blue to green, green to red, red back to blue. Nice. There we go. And this would work for any number of colors. If we added a fourth color inside this, it would count through that one as well. Let's do a purplish, reddish, and bluish together. Maybe, say like this. Oops. Okay, blue to green, green to red, red to purple. Although red and purple didn't end up being that far apart. It did change though. I guess that's because I chose like, it's a pretty similar color. This red, I guess, is sort of purplish by itself. This will be slightly more purple. The red's definitely redder. Yeah, the purple's still fairly pink, but it does change. Maybe the color, maybe the light on this thing will help a little bit. Okay. So circle and rectangle I think are good. Let's do polygon. I'm going to close all of these again. I'm going to end up reopening some of them, but in the interest of trying to keep my tabs under control a little bit. He says right before he goes and opens 4 files, but we're going to use all 4 of these at least. Oh, you know what? Let me, before I do Polygon, let me go change rectangle to uint 16. Okay, so here it actually is already 16. Interesting. Okay, yeah, we have uint 16 color index. That's what we have for circle. So we switch this one to be the same. Uint 16 on rectangle. No, it's uint. Unless it's somewhere else. If you're talking about a different one, maybe. Prior. I'm not sure where I was. I'll run through all of them though. Let's see, the one down here, there should be one. This one doesn't declare a type. Ah. Oops. It's a set color. On rectangle. Do that. There we go. .h. Let's see, uint 16 on this is rectangle. Uint 16 on circle. I think it may have been this one in the set color index. I did find one that was int 16 instead of uint 16. These ones here. So is there anything else in rectangle where it's 32? I don't think so. Here it doesn't declare a type. Ah, here we can use this. Okay. Here also. Set color index. Actually, I had quite a few places. Okay. Make sure we haven't broken anything. Oh, and we have. Conflating types. Rectangle construct. At 32. There we go. Today on Will It Build? Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I was definitely jumping around quick. And I imagine there's probably at least a little bit of a delay as well. So like by the time I saw that, I probably already hopped a couple of times. I do appreciate the help nonetheless, though, for sure. And you were right, I had a couple. Ended up being that needed to be changed still, so let's see, copy. Just make sure this still works. Seems good. We're not changing the square dynamically, but I think it would still be working if we were. Maybe we could just call increment on it as well, actually. Why is this mad? Oh. Yeah, I mean it does. But my stubs don't think it does. Therefore it tries to warn me. Nice, okay, yeah, now they both change colors. Cool. Now we can do Polygon. And since we changed this a bunch to uint 16s, if we copy paste again, we shouldn't have to change as much afterwards. Okay, so one thing is the construct here doesn't have any other uints on this one. Grab this. Whoa. Copy? Paste? Okay. Now we're gonna have these two. Oh, gosh darn it. Found another one. And again, I could find replace, but doing these more manual is giving me more time to like just look at all of this code and get used to it. So, done. Okay. So here, this is where we have this one. And I think we can just copy this one. Before we call construct, we are gonna set color index, or not really set it, but like I guess get it out of the arguments. Pass it to construct. Okay, the property. Property is here. Have all of this. Gun. Polygon. Polygon. Okay. Couple more here. Okay. So there's a lot more boilerplate for properties than for constructor arguments. Okay. This thing. The locals dict for property. Locals dictionary for the properties. It's down here. Our index. Whoops. Gone. All right. I think that's everything in these two files. Shared module. Haven't touched anything yet. Okay. Struct. Set that inside of here. Let's see what else. Inside of get pixel. Whenever it was returning a 1, give it this color index. Looks like that's the only spot where it would have returned it. Okay. We do anything else in this file? Okay, so we have the extra argument for construct, the extra setter inside construct. Inside get pixel, we have our change. In the case of circle, we actually had 2. Ah, okay, yeah. Get color index and set color index. Do we seriously have another uint here? It's another spot where I forgot the uint? Indeed. Whoops. Dang. Okay. Polygon. Down. Okay. Might be everything we need. Oops. Console, not what we want. Mail's here. Let's see, color index, arg color index undeclared. So this is in shared bindings. Go and see. Seven, so that's back up here. I have this thing. Ah. Arg. There we go. We forgot to edit the pirates list. Okay. Bootloader. Nope, didn't get it. There we go. Just hadn't mounted yet, I think. A little too fast on the draw. There we go. Alright, so that's running. Let's add a polygon. Oh, I can't actually see the code, so I can't add a polygon yet. Points. Is there... Yeah. Just use this one now. Although... Yeah, we can just still change the X of it after the fact. I don't know, maybe we don't want it as big as this? Let's see what it looks like. Say 75x and 75y. Whoa. $45. Not sure exactly what shape it's trying to make. Could probably plot this on graph paper or something. Guessing this is probably right though. 5.5 to 80.20, so like up here to here, back to 2020, down to 2080, and then back to the beginning. Yeah, it does look correct to me. So if we made this like 40/40, then this little point on the inside underneath here would be further out, which would make our shape have more area. Yeah. Now it's like a nice little, it's like the asteroids plane. If it wasn't quite so wide. Anyway, now I'm just playing with shapes, but yeah, okay. So Polygon's working to create one. We have not broken it all the way, which is good. What about this? Increment color Polygon. Nice. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Okay. I was like, that's a strange behavior. That does make sense. Just was only changing on one side, not both sides. When the circle hit one side. There we go. Now we get what we expect. Okay. All right. Awesome. I'll maybe keep this as like example code for the PR. Okay, so basically we just want to clean up and make a PR, because I think I'm going to submit this one here. I was talking about borders and stuff earlier. I may come back and try to play with rectangle and make a border. I'm curious to try it at the Python layer first, though, actually, instead of doing it how I was thinking inside the C code in that getPixel function. I kind of want to try to use this line helper that K-Matt shared with me before I got going today. So let's see. Can we run pre-commit? And make translate. Okay. What? I don't know why. I don't know why all these changed. I mean, this looks like formatting change. But why would they be checked in without the formatting, but then I ran pre-commit? I mean, surely I'm not the only one that's run pre-commit before. Hmm. Line 30? Yeah. So these are checked in without spaces. All I did was run pre-commit and it added spaces to them. Maybe I wasn't supposed to do -A? Do we not run pre-commit -A on this? On the core? commit install. Hmm. I think what I'm going to do is undo all of them and only do my actual changes. I don't know why all these changed. There's some outline algorithm approaches in the display of shapes code, but some, particularly circle, have scaling errors when the outline width is greater than 3 or 4 pixels. Oh yeah, I think I have seen that before. I've seen that before. Circles, I think, are probably the toughest one for outline to work. I would almost probably just go towards making 2 circles, one big one and one small one. Put the small one in the middle on top. Okay. So now I kind of want to revert all of these. Not sure why all those got changed by my pre-commit, but oh, you know what we should do actually is in test, we should include our code in the test. Here. Can run on anything with a built-in display. Maybe depending on the size, I guess. If the display's too small, could run off the side. Or if it's monocolor, I guess, it would not show the colors, but... So does that need to pass black or anything? It's desirable to have a circle outline with a transparent fill. But you can use make transparent on the palette, I think. So you make it have a color, but then you just make that color, you do set make transparent on the palette. And there's a need for a graphic arc. Arc would be awesome though too. That's true. And it would be the same function basically. Once we had an arc function, you could use arcs to make the outline of the circle too. That's a good point. Oh, well, I guess I maybe misinterpreted. I thought you meant if we were to make it with Vectorio. There should be a palette for shapes. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, truthfully. I mean, there must be a palette somewhere, though. So it's either internally or externally. There must be a palette. And I would assume you can call make transparent on it. It might be private, though, I guess, if it's like, it's not easy to access. Let's look at rectangle. It's probably not going to give you, yeah, technically they have it as private. So you give the colors, and then it creates the palette. You could still access it, like, you could still say rectangle._palette.make transparent. Pretty much what it does here. But it's underscore is supposed to be private, so it's not really meant to work that way. Let's refresh this. I guess I don't think we're using Rainbow IO anymore. This is probably spawning a new actions thing for each one of these, which takes like an hour to run for the core. It's alright though. None color is transparent. Oh, interesting. Did not know that for shapes. So if you set it to none, then it interprets it as transparent sometimes. Tests, Vectorio. One thing I did not do is test for negatives. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. I'm not sure what it would do. I think that, I mean, the absolute value, there's absolute value somewhere, which would fix the negatives. but I didn't test like all the different scenarios. I don't think we have Vectorio, but there is a display.io, which I kind of, even though Vectorio is a different module, I think of it as part of display.io, kind of. Oh, I should mention also in this, it is omitted. The previous behavior is the default. Okay. We'll see if that passes the CI or not. Whoa. What that was. Okay. I think what I want to do now, probably not going to stick around too much longer, but I do want to try another thing real quick. Let's call this code Vectorio color index test. And let's get rid of this. We can keep the palette. Let's go to rectangle. This gives us a bouncing rectangle, which is actually a square, but call it a rectangle. It is still a rectangle, I guess. So what I want is like, whoa, I want like class outlined rectangle. Extends group. Def init. So this is gonna have kind of this a similar signature to rectangle here. So pixel shader. Width. I don't know if we want these to have defaults or maybe not. XY outline. Color index. Outline. Thickness. Okay. So when you call this constructor, it's gonna make a rectangle using the things you passed it. It's gonna call super init. It's gonna call self.append the rectangle. Now it's gonna make some lines. What is this? Super.meth. Probably short for method, I guess. I didn't do this right. Line 11, y equals x. Thank you. That would have probably taken a while to figure out, so I definitely appreciate that. I think do these extend to label? I mean group rather? File grid. Label base. Label base. Group. That's why. Maybe we would not. Maybe these would be 0 actually. And then we will move the group, the self-instance group, when we want to change the x and y. This is still not very happy though. Oh, here we go. There we go. I don't know, I'll default to scale 1. We could maybe pass in scale later if we wanted. Or maybe we should always just be scale 1. You could always put it inside of another group if you want it scaled. Okay. So I guess let's see if this works so far, because if I did everything right, this will basically just be the same thing as we already had. But I want to see if I did everything right before I do the next thing. Nope. Line 29. Missing a required positional argument. XY. No, I have XY. Oh, outline color. None. None. There we go. Okay. Now we have a class that goes around rectangle and makes a rectangle and adds it to itself, instance of a group, which doesn't seem like it does too much right now, and that's because it doesn't, but what we want to add is this thing. Angled rectangle. I think I will. Will I make it static? I'd make it static. If it needs to be before the constructor. Can you do stuff out of order? I'd like to have it after, truthfully. Put this. Okay. Now we want to go if. Maybe this should be 1 instead of none. That's better. If outline color index, then we're going to do something special, which is we're going to create. So this function basically creates lines. It creates lines with a certain thickness, and the lines can be at any angle. So you just give it 2 points, and then a palette, and then a stroke, and it makes a line of this thickness going from the first point to the second point. And I guess right now palette, it must just use palette. well, it'll fall back to the default of Polygon, which we know now is palette 0. So for now, let me just hardcode color index 1. Inside color is going to be 1, outline color is going to be 0. And then obviously we'll come back later and make it to where you can set the colors. So if we have an outside color, outline color, then we want to basically make 4 of these angled rectangles. Left border is... doesn't look like we can do it out of order. Or is it mad because it's static? Ah, there we go. Okay. Okay, so points. Points are what? Points are... so for the left border, the points are... X and Y. And X and height. Palette is pixel shader. Stroke. Let's leave it on 1. No, let's make it bigger. No, let's leave it on 1. See if it works. Okay, so we created this. We also need to add it. Self.append left border. Okay, so I don't really see it, but it would be really, really hard to actually tell because the colors are not very different and there's only 1 pixel. Let's actually use 2. We'll make it red. All right, I don't really see a blue line, but maybe it's there. Let's try stroke. 3. No. I didn't pass this. Yeah. So that'll write in a function and then not even using it. So I'm just gonna put 0, it doesn't matter. Oh, but 0 is not truthy. But we want to be able to pass 0, truthfully, honestly. So we should maybe not say if this is not none. Because 0, I'm pretty sure if 0 is false. But 0 is not none. That should be true. Okay. Now we have an outline, but it's in the wrong spot. Why would it be at the bottom there? Let's scoot this up some too. Wonder how far down it goes. Interesting. It's basically the bottom half. I think we don't want XY. I think we want 0, 0. XY is like real world display coordinates. These 0, 0s are the coordinates local to this polygon. Has its own coordinate space. There we go. Okay, now we're cooking. Well, let's make it thicker so we can see it better. Yeah. Okay, so we make 4 more of those. 3 more of those. Right border. This one goes again from 0, 0, but to width 0. And we could pass along this instead of hard coding 8 here. Whoop. Okay, right border X is not going to be 0. It's going to be width -1 or not. Don't know. Try it without. What? It's not moving anymore? Wasn't it moving just a minute ago? Oh. Is this board alive still? Did I just hard crash? I did. I just hard crashed. Okay. So maybe there is a hard crash that comes from adding the same thing to the group again. That's my best guess here. And I don't think it will reset. Yeah. Press the reset though, and let's see. That should get us back. Oh, but then it's gonna rerun its. Okay, no, I got the new saved file. I'm gonna say it's gonna rerun its own code and then just fail again. So our X is wrong. This should actually still be 0, 0. Okay, and it's really, really difficult to see at 1, but we passed this through now, so we can say outline color thickness. Outline thickness rather, no color. There we go. Now we're starting to get our outline in there. I do notice the corners don't meet up exactly. It's difficult probably to see coming through the camera. You can it makes it look rounded almost because of the way, basically they're not meeting squarely. Why would they not be meeting squarely? I'm not worried too much about it. I actually kind of like the effect, although it maybe should be optional. I'm not sure. They're both 0, 0. I would have. Yeah, interesting. I would have thought those would be squarely aligned with each other in their corners. Maybe not, though. Maybe I'm incorrect how the origin point works. Is the outline inside or outside the rectangle? It is, I don't know, is the short answer. Yeah, it's one of the two. I'm not sure. Would have to do more math to find out. It is, I guess, inside, at least partially. Possibly all the way. but I'm not sure. Good question, though. Top border. I'm a guessing checker when it comes to geometry, especially. I'm like write it out, do it, and then look at it. And it's difficult to tell just by looking at it. Maybe we could make it not quite as wide. That would tell us a little bit. So like here we could say width over 2, for instance. And it would be only half the width. Okay. To my eye, it looks now like it is halfway. The top line, so the top line is 8 thick, because that's what we put here, right? Yeah. The top line is 8 thick. And right now, to my eye, it looks like 4 pixels of those thickness are outside, and 4 pixels are inside. So it's perfectly centered on the edge of the rectangle, which makes it kind of both, I guess. Half of it's outside, half of it's inside. It does mean that your width is technically different. If you were to grab the width from this thing, you'd probably not get the full width. You'd probably get the width minus those 4 pixels, but I think that's all right for now. Put this back too before I forget. I guess that's also why the corners are not meeting up then. So each of those lines is centered on its origin. So we'd need to push them either all the way inside or all the way outside. Probably inside would be the way we would go if I were going to do it. And then that would cause them to meet at a perfect square 90-degree corner. Okay, so top border. Oh, no. Wait. Wait. I called this right border, and it is totally the top border. Okay. I should have copied right border. All right, and I haven't changed the code, so this just duplicated. So right border, X is width. We're going here. Nice. Bottom border. Maybe we should check too, like after I create this, maybe we'll check it against display shapes and see if it uses less memory. If it doesn't actually use less memory, then there's not much reason to do it this way. Display shapes already exists, already has this functionality. My suspicion is that this will end up using less though, even though we have 5 shapes, we have 1 rectangle and 4 polygons. Because we don't have a bitmap with every single one of those pixels, I think we probably end up with less RAM. If my instinct on that is wrong though, and this is more RAM, then display shapes is better and should just use it. Okay, so here we're gonna go, so I think we should go back to 0. From 0, height, to, yeah, width, height, same thing. Nice. Should lengthen the outline lines move the first coordinate to x minus stroke over 2? To make it square and still be on the outside, I think you mean. So So we could actually just do either the top and bottom or the right and left. We don't actually need to change all of them. Let's change the top and bottom. So you're saying, I think it would be basically, instead of 0, it's actually going to be minus, well, 0 minus, I don't know, maybe that's redundant. Outline thickness over 2. So now the top corner meets square, the top left corner. But we still need it to be wider. We need it to be wider by the full amount of the thickness. There we go. Same thing on bottom. Oh, yeah, no over 2 this time. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I think those are square. There's a little bit of an artifact where if I stare like really intently at the corner, I feel like I can see it, but I think honestly this is an artifact of moving it, not a problem with our math up there. So if we just draw it and keep it still and write valid Python code, yeah, corners are perfectly square that way. While it's moving though, if you stare at the corners, you can kind of see sort of some like ghosting of those jaggedy edges from before. I think it's just to do probably with the order that they're actually getting redrawn. In a perfect world, the outline should ride along the rectangle edge with half the stroke above the edge and half below, which I think is where we're at. So our world is far from perfect, but I do think that is the situation we have. So for a thickness of 8, the thickness lines are 4 pixels of them are outside the rectangle and 4 pixels of them are inside but drawn over the top, so therefore covering the first 4 pixels all the way around. Okay, so this is pretty cool. I think it would be neat to have a helper library that contains code like this, that's Python code that's built on top of Vectorio to allow it to have outlines like display shapes can. Although I do think it's still worth, like, we should measure the memory, because if it turns out that this is not actually less memory, then display shapes is probably just best to go ahead and use it. Although a helper library for Vectorio I still would like to see, because for instance, like this could go into the helper library. Even if even if it turned out that borders is less memory efficient this way, this thing can still be helpful, because this allows you to draw an arbitrary line from any 2 points with any thickness that you want. Should probably normalize to either use stroke or thickness. I think stroke maybe is what it uses in display shapes, so probably we should use that. Not 100% sure though, I'll have to look at that. And we could make one of these, I'm pretty sure we could make basically a Polygon version of this as well, outlined Polygon, where it will basically be the same kind of thing. It'll make the Vectorio polygon, and then for the borders, instead of like left, right, top, bottom, instead it'll be every 2 points inside the polygon. So it'll draw a line between the first point and the second point, and then between the second point and the third point and the fourth point and the fifth point, and when it gets all the way to the end, it'll draw the line between the last point and the first point. And then I think what we end up with is an outlined polygon. This, I guess I will say, this math where it's like adjusting for the corners might be harder and or not possible. Not sure, actually. I can't really visualize if it's going to be more difficult because it's Polygon. I think it will be, though, because the lines can be at arbitrary angles, which means it's not, I don't think it's going to be as easy for us to just subtract half the thickness. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I mentioned earlier, though, like with geometry, I'm a guessing checker. So honestly, I'd have to try it, see what it looks like, and then from there, I would know whether that's going to be an actual problem or not. But off the top of my head, it sounds like it might be. Seems like it might be, I should say. Anyway, yep, Tammy headed out a little bit ago. I don't know exactly when that came in, but thanks for hanging out with us. I'm getting ready to head out as well, as a matter of fact. So thank you to everyone who watched. I will be back on definitely Friday. Probably I'll stream a little bit on Monday sometime as well. So in 2 days, but I don't have a like set time. So if you want to watch on Mondays, it's a little bit more informal. I tend to not interact as much with the chat and instead just head down, work on what I'm working on. But if that kind of thing sounds interesting to you, then you can follow me on Twitch and you'll get a notification when I do pop on the stream. So thank you again to everyone. Thanks C. Grover. Who else was around here a little while ago? I think Ham's Labs. Yeah, thank you to K-Match definitely for this angled rec, and I think angled rectangle. I think he mentioned that Jose David worked on this as well, who is someone else that helped us with a bunch of the widget stuff. I think he's been less active lately, but made a lot of really good stuff, so thank you to Jose as well. And yeah, I'll be back sometime, probably Monday, but Deep Dive is the next one that's scheduled for sure. That's going to be Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific. I'll throw the card up for it. Boom. Deep Dive. Fridays, 2 p.m. Pacific. That's the next like scheduled time I'll be back with a real show. So check it out then if you like. Hope everybody has a good day and a good